Okay.
While this is taking place, Brittney Griner comes out and says, I am so sick and tired of the NBA, WNBA. It used to be a peaceful, small little thing. Now there's crowds screaming, hollering. This is disruptive. It's not allowing us to play the game. This is her quote. I don't know if you saw this or not when she gave that.
Patrick Bet-David just dropped one of the most brutal reality checks ever heard on a podcast. After Brittney Griner made some bold and controversial remarks about Caitlin Clark and hinted at racial undertones, the conversation exploded across social media.
From 41. What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as the hate and anger?
But PBD wasn't having any of it. He fired back by reminding Griner of her time in a Russian prison and completely dismantled her complaints about fan noise. His response was absolutely ruthless. The real question is, what was more satisfying? Watching PBD bring up her Russian prison stint, or hearing him break down why she should be grateful the WNBA is getting any attention at all?
I'd have fun with you. Brittney Griner, what she says, right there, watch this. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there watching.
Let's be completely honest about what went down on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, because Brittney Griner just got hit with the reality check of a lifetime. While she was busy complaining about crowd noise and tossing out subtle racial jabs at Caitlin Clark, PBD was out here reminding her of some uncomfortable truths she clearly forgot during her time away from the game. It all started when Griner made the absurd claim that the WNBA used to be this quiet, peaceful space where you could bring your laptop and get work done during games. Just think about that. A professional athlete upset that fans are finally loud, engaged, and showing up. The audacity is wild enough on its own, but it gets even worse when you consider who is making these complaints.
Used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now, it's like there's large gatherings of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score, like we're there for their entertainment. You are! The whole thing is toxic. I saw a guy with his daughter in the crowd, both of them yelling, couldn't hear what they were saying exactly, but it was either my performance or some light racism. But
Griner literally said that WNBA games used to be chill and quiet, and now she's upset that large crowds are showing up, some of them actually yelling based on what they see on the court. She complained about the unfair pressure to perform, as if athletes aren't supposed to entertain. Newsflash, Brittney, you are there for entertainment. That's the entire point of professional sports. But what really raised eyebrows was when she talked about seeing a father and daughter in the crowd. She admitted she couldn't even hear what they were saying, but assumed it was either criticism of her performance or, as she called it, light racism. Yes, she actually used that term to describe fans cheering at a basketball game. The fact that her first instinct was to attribute the crowd's energy to racism says a lot about where her mindset is. Patrick Bet-David didn't pull any punches in response, and honestly, someone had to say it. He reminded everyone that Griner was literally in a Russian prison not long ago, facing serious charges. She had to be rescued through a high-stakes prisoner exchange, one that involved releasing an arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death.
Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America, on home soil, would not have too much to complain about. Especially something like this.
The prisoner exchange that brought Griner home wasn't just any deal. It involved trading Victor Bout, a man convicted of conspiring to kill Americans and aiding terrorist organizations. That's who the U.S. government had to release to bring Brittney Griner back.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick. That's how fans act in every arena. In every arena. So, and then when you, clearly she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The Merchant of Death.
The Merchant of Death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according.
And her response to being back on American soil, free and playing the sport she loves in front of fans who are finally showing up, is to complain about the noise. PBD's point was harsh, but completely valid. You'd expect someone who spent time imprisoned in a foreign country to come back with a renewed sense of gratitude and perspective. Instead, Griner finds excited fans disturbing rather than motivating, which shows just how out of touch she's become with reality and with gratitude. What makes her comments even more tone-deaf is the timing. The WNBA is experiencing record-breaking growth. For the first time in its 25-year history, the league is projected to hit $1 billion valuation, and that explosion in popularity is almost entirely thanks to Caitlin Clark. But here's where Griner's comments turned from disappointing to outright insulting. She's criticizing the very thing that's putting more money into her pocket and every other player's as well. The noise, the crowds, the hype, all of that translates into bigger TV deals, more sponsorships, and higher salaries. Then there's the racial undertone of Griner's remarks, which cuts even deeper. Because, let's be honest, it's not really about Clark's skills or stats. It's about the uncomfortable reality that a young white player is drawing the kind of mainstream attention that many black players have never received, despite years of excellence. PBD didn't dodge that point either. He acknowledged that race might play a role in Clark's spotlight, but he also made it clear that her talent more than justifies the attention. Caitlin Clark finished 4th in MVP voting in just her second year. She plays an electrifying style of basketball that's made for TV and brings a competitive edge that casual fans love.
WNBA says they want to get paid more. They're saying this year they're going to make $1 billion. That's what they're saying, okay? For the first time ever. Now that Caitlin Clark is hurt for 2 weeks, did you see ticket prices? Insane. Let me read you the ticket prices. After Caitlin Clark's been hurt for 2 weeks. All right? So let's go through this. Caitlin Clark absence is having an immediate impact beyond the court. According to data shared by Yahoo Sports via TickPick, prices for 2 specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics dropped sharply after Clark was sidelined. Before the injury, the lowest ticket available for Fever's matchup in Chicago was $86. For the game in Washington, fans needed at least $41 to get in. After the news of Clark's absence, those get-in prices fell to $25 from $86 and $14.
The ticket price data PBD referenced during the podcast says it all when it comes to who's really driving the WNBA's success. The moment Caitlin Clark got injured, ticket prices for Fever games tanked. Chicago tickets dropped from $86 to $25, Washington from $41 to $14. That's not a slight dip, that's a market crash. It shows exactly who the fans are coming to see. And in that context, Brittney Griner's complaints about crowd noise sound even more ridiculous. For most of the WNBA's 24-year history, games were played in front of nearly empty arenas. Players were used to that. They didn't have to deal with pressure, expectations, or accountability to paying fans. Clark changed all of that, and it's obvious some players weren't ready. Griner saying the WNBA used to be a place where you could bring your laptop and get work done during games perfectly sums up why the league was irrelevant for so long. Too many players treated the games like casual rec league runs instead of professional-level entertainment. That attitude is exactly why the WNBA lost money year after year. PBD's response hit hard because he didn't let Griner hide behind victimhood or vague racial grievances. He brought the conversation back to reality. She was rescued from a Russian prison through an international deal, and now she's back in America making more money than the WNBA has ever seen, thanks largely to the very fan enthusiasm she's complaining about. The comparison to other sports made it even worse for Griner's argument. PBD pointed out that loud, intense fans are part of every major sport. NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, athletes in all of these leagues deal with hostile road crowds and pressure-filled environments. It's part of the job, not some unreasonable hardship. Griner's mindset seems to be that WNBA players should enjoy all the benefits of professional athletics, money, media coverage, influence, without any of the demands that come with it. But that's not how sports work anywhere in the world. That's why PBD's reminder of her time in a Russian prison cut so deep. It exposed how tone-deaf her current complaints really are. She went through real oppression, real consequences, and now she's using her platform to complain about American fans being too enthusiastic? PBD also touched on a deeper frustration brewing in the league. The resentment some WNBA players clearly feel toward Caitlin Clark. And he didn't dismiss that feeling. He admitted it's natural to feel overlooked when someone else is in the spotlight. But he reminded everyone that this dynamic isn't new. It's happened in every sport. The Michael Jordan comparison was perfect. Jordan got hate for being the media darling too. The Pistons literally built the Jordan rules just to try and shut him down. But that resentment came because Jordan's impact was undeniable, not because the media propped him up artificially. And the same thing is happening now with Caitlin Clark.
And she wreaks havoc. She's the Rookie of the Year. She's 4th in the league in MVP voting. 4th in the league, her rookie year.
Wow.
Outstanding. She's like Steph Curry. She can pull up from anywhere. You understand? She has that kind of capability. Then won a national championship. Lost to LSU one year. Lost to South Carolina another year. But she's outstanding and clearly worthy of being the number 1 overall pick. And what I was saying to everybody is ride the wave. Rising tide lifts all boats. The girl is spectacular. It's not like she's not a scrub. She's not only can play, she's a star caliber player who draws this attention. And maybe it's because that fan base that she has and her being a young white lady.
With Caitlin Clark, the situation is clear. The attention she's getting is based on hard facts: ticket sales, TV ratings, merchandise numbers, and social media engagement. These aren't opinions or media bias, they're measurable financial results that prove her value to the league. So when Brittney Griner complains about racial undertones and crowd reactions, it's not just tone deaf, it's damaging. Assuming that families cheering at games must be acting out of racism shows a mindset more focused on finding problems than appreciating new opportunities. This entire podcast discussion exposed how unprepared some WNBA players were for mainstream success. For decades, they played in a quiet bubble. No pressure, little criticism, and hardly any accountability. But Clark's arrival changed everything. Now, there's real spotlight, real expectations, and real consequences. And that's how professional sports work. PBD's point about gratitude hit especially hard. After everything Griner went through in Russia, you'd expect her to cherish every second of freedom, to embrace the game she loves and appreciate the fans who pay to see her play. Instead, she's complaining about fan enthusiasm, the very enthusiasm that's finally making the WNBA financially viable. Ticket prices nosedived when Clark was injured. Fever game tickets in Chicago fell from $86 to $25. In Washington, from $41 to $14. That's not a dip, it's a collapse. It shows just how much Clark is driving the league's growth. And yet, Griner's focused on the noise levels? This shows how disconnected some players are. For years, the WNBA was irrelevant, games played in half-empty gyms. Some players even joked that you could bring your laptop and get work done during games. That mindset is exactly why the league struggled financially for 25 years. Clark's popularity changed that overnight, and some just aren't ready for it. Griner's complaints come at the worst possible time. The league is finally thriving. The WNBA is projected to reach a $1 billion valuation for the first time in history, and it's largely because of the attention Clark is bringing. Yet instead of building on that, Griner is alienating fans by accusing them of racism and criticizing their excitement. That's how you destroy momentum. Patrick Bet-David's business mindset cut through the noise. He understands that fan engagement and customer satisfaction are what fund salaries. Complaining about fans being too excited is like a restaurant owner complaining about too many customers. It makes no sense. Just like musicians don't ask concertgoers to quiet down, athletes shouldn't ask fans to tone down their passion. Griner seems to want the perks of mainstream attention. Better pay, more visibility, without the accountability that comes with it. But that's not how it was.
Works in sports or entertainment. Sure, race in America is a complex and sensitive issue, but using that to explain away Clark's success, which is clearly built on performance and engagement, does more harm than good. PBD acknowledged that complexity, but he also refused to let it cloud the facts. Clark's impact is real, and it's measurable. And let's not forget, the U.S. literally traded a convicted arms dealer, Victor Boot, to bring Brittney Griner home. That deal showed how much her freedom meant. And now, after all that, she's using her platform to complain about cheering fans? What PBD delivered wasn't just criticism. It was a much-needed reality check. The WNBA is finally on the rise. The last thing it needs is players turning fans away. Griner had an opportunity to lead with gratitude. Instead, she led with grievance. Patrick Bet-David didn't hold back because someone had to say it. If you agree he was right to call it out, hit that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered truth.